Good morning, Mike. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Good morning, gentlemen.
Thank you for joining us as always. What a tough, gritty road win. How happy were you with your team coming off last week in the elements without a couple of big-time players? What does that say about your football team, Coach, heading into another gritty one against Detroit?
I felt really. I felt they had a good week. When you have injuries in youth and you just have some moving parts, and then to go up there and with the delay and so forth, just very impressed with the whole football operation there. And I thought the players just did a great job staying after it. We knew we were going to have to grind it out to get that win, and I thought they did an excellent job with that.
Coach, without giving away too much, obviously, what are the major changes, if any, that Mike Zimmer has done with this defense with the way that they've recovered over the past few weeks?
I think the biggest thing is you're seeing it come together. I mean, when you look at our football team, it changes every year, the dynamics of your roster and so forth. And any time you're dealing with newness, there's a level of transition that you have to go through. And I just think you're seeing the defense is getting connected more and more each week. And then with the challenge of the injuries, there's just more work to do. But I just think you're seeing the confidence and the connection is improving, and our guys are doing a good job staying after it.
Coach, I want to ask you just a general football question based upon the fourth down game winner against the Steelers. When teams call timeouts back and forth on each other to get a look, right? Like Pittsburgh wants to see how you're lined up for your play. How often does that change what you do? Or you want to see how they're lined up? What's the give and take there with the information on those situations and how much it completely alters things when teams are calling those timeouts to get a look?
I mean, the reality of it gives you the opportunity to change a call. We call it a Kodak moment. So if we're on defense and we wait till the offensive lines just to see what formation they're thinking, and also there's a gamesmanship to it where you're trying to get him to maybe go to his next call. So and then offensively, you have a call and then it gets down to maybe they run the person. They may change the personnel late, so you may not have the particular matchup or the pre-snap look's not really what you want. So then you'd call the time on offense. So it's really a Kodak moment, just you're trying to win you're getting information out of the pre-snap process.
Mike McCarthy joined us here at 105 through the Fan. It's hard to keep a team together in this league. Detroit is, as personnel-wise, as close to being the same team as they were last year. How much different do they look on tape? Do they look like they're as good, as same kind of magic, or they look different on tape?
I think so far this year, I mean, they're playing at a high level of efficiency, and the numbers point to that. But so does the video, and that's what you're really always striving for, just to get that connection, that continuity, and you can see it in their pace of play, through the pre-snap substitutions, clearly in what they're trying to do. Also, you can see that the volume of their scheme is high, so that comes, as a coaching staff when you feel like you do have the connective components in place that you can do more with your players and and also keep the same level of efficiency. So so far it looks like they have that.
Last year was a much lower scoring game than I think a lot of us thought it was going to be, the way those two offenses were rolling. But so I think it surprised a lot of people. Do you see another low scoring type game, or do you think this thing opens up a little bit more?
Well, I think that's why you play the game. I think the capability of being high scoring is definitely there if you look at the offensive makeups, but also you got to look at the way the defenses are playing and what's going on there too. And I think that the special teams, I know it's an indoor, so I don't think the return game will be, there won't be a lot of reps there. But you got to make sure that the special teams doesn't factor either in the field position. But yeah, I think there's potentially anytime two offenses that come together and you're playing indoors, it definitely has that opportunity.
Mike McCarthy every Friday with us here on 105.3 The Fan. And speaking of scoring, Coach, we're going to be rats here, or we're going to rat out some of the guests we've had on this week. At least 3 different Lions people have told us that they expect Dan Campbell to like throw back to an offensive lineman or do some type of trickery to avenge last year. So you can dismiss it, you can flush it, Coach, but if it happens, we would like credit in the post game by name specifically.
Well, I really appreciate you guys stepping up your game in preparation because Lord knows you guys needed to. So great job.
Is that our trick plays? Is that something? I mean, obviously you're prepared for them throughout the season, but like, is that something that you look at each team individually? Like, hey, you got to be more on your toes with this game, or you're just always prepped?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everybody has a history, and now that Ben's been calling it, which is his third year, so he's starting to. There's definitely a book being built, on him, and but I think the biggest thing is, too, you look at the history of each coordinator, especially Dan, as a head coach, and I think the toughest one and really the one they, attempted last year is a tough one when you have multiple linemen come into the game. That's a different level of awareness that you have to have. So they definitely do stress you there in the area of deceptives.
Coach, there is a lot of hype over their coordinator, Ben Johnson, with head coach possibilities last offseason. What do you see in a Ben Johnson offense that makes it unique or really hard to defend?
I think number one, he has the offensive line and the perimeter pieces, and he's got an excellent quarterback to run the whole book. I think the biggest thing is as a coordinator, we all have menus, but when you can live in a full speed, wide open approach week in and week out, that's where you want to be, and he definitely has that. But he has a really good combination of a diverse run game and a diverse passing game. So there's always a flair deceptive to it, but does a really good job with the formation utilization, the shifts and motions, and he does. I think he does a nice job attacking your force elements in the run game, and in particular the C gap area. So. Yeah, it's a well-coordinated offense.
Coach, you're going up against Jared Goff this week, and he was somebody who felt like a couple of years ago some people were kind of writing off as like, all right, you know what, he's not going to be the quarterback we thought he would be. But then he's had a lot of success in Detroit. And we've seen, Geno Smith last night in Seattle, a guy who's had a lot of success after kind of being written off, or Baker Mayfield, just other guys across the league. As a general philosophy question within the league right now, do you think that the NFL's learning a little bit like, hey, we can't write the quarterback position off so quickly? Like, some of these guys do need to take more time to develop.
Absolutely. No, I think the answer is in your question. I mean, it's clearly been going on. I know in my whole time this league, there's a lot of high draft picks in the early days. If there was a little more patience and, we're given a second, third chance, that would have had great careers. And I think that, where you go as a quarterback is important. And quarterbacks only get better in this league, because of the reps. I think that the 1,300 pass attempts for a quarterback coming out of college is a pretty good indicator of the level of experience that you're dealing with once you get a young man coming out of college. And I think the same thing goes to pro football. You just need to get attempts, and for these second and third string quarterbacks. I mean, that's why I wish they'd have mandatory fourth quarterback in every organization. It'd only make our game better. But they need trips to the plate. They need to be part of the quarterback school. They need that off-season program. They need the training camp reps, the post-practice reps and all those, because there's so much value in that. These quarterbacks are only going to get better the more time that they can spend in an offense, in the classroom, with the defensive challenges, understanding the trends, everything that goes on in the National Football League. Protection is a huge part of being successful as a quarterback, having the proper tools and adjustments to win at the line of scrimmage and utilize that opportunity to, take advantage of a one-on-one and so forth. I mean, that's not something you can just do in one off season or a couple off seasons. So, yeah, definitely. I think quarterbacks just need to stay alive, and because they're only going to get better.
Was that part of the thought process for you guys, I guess, too, with when you brought Trey Lance in? Is, hey, like, let's take a guy who obviously had a great skill set. Let's invest in helping him come along more at a pace that allows those talents to flourish.
No, absolutely. I mean, because Trey has everything you're looking for, and on top of it, he's a high quality young man. I mean, this guy's got tremendous work ethic. He's got excellent skill set. He's got the physical traits, but he's an example of what I'm talking about. He needs reps, and and he's in an excellent quarterback room with Dak and Cooper and the young coaches we have in there. So I mean, it's a great example, and he's going to play. He's going to start in this league someday. I truly believe that, but he needs to just keep working towards that.
Mike McCarthy joining us here on 105.3 The Fan. That was the best y'all had run the ball, looks like that, at any point this year. Was the O-line just better in this game, or was Rico seeing things a little bit differently and hitting the right holes?
Well, I think it's all just a combination of things. I think the other thing, too, is, the third down percentage is part of that equation, too. We were getting more trips to the plate and attempts and so forth. I mean, it's hard to be effective running the ball when you only run it 12, 15 times a game. So the ability to get up over the 30 attempt threshold is important. When you're running the ball 30 plus times in a game, I don't know if I've ever not been happy with the outcome. So because the run game's tied to the protection and in the action pass game, all those things are tied together.
Coach, Tyler Smith having to step in and play left tackle last week when Tyler Guyton had gone down. Looked to do an admirable job of it. Was that just a completely fresh experience for him in terms of something he hadn't done since the last time he had played left tackle? Or do you guys practice those reps occasionally with him, like, hey, in an emergency situation, you may need to slide over there?
Well, I think the job he did was outstanding for him to jump out there and play that, because that's obviously a premier position to play, and to do it with not a whole lot of work is super impressive. But he's a true pro. I mean, he's on top of it, just from a preparation standpoint. But we don't give him too many reps out there because obviously Tyler Guyton is he's a young player. He needs every rep he can get. So all of our young players do. But for him to go out there and as far as the physical reps that he's had was definitely impressive.
Coach, Clarence Hill yesterday reported that Zeke was dumbfounded by his lack of opportunities, at least as a red zone back. How frustrated is Zeke, and what can you say about his lack of usage or just usage rate so far this year?
Well, just sitting down with Zeke and Rico, and just making sure that communication was clear a few weeks back. I mean, we're gonna roll these guys through. Production will be part of the evaluation. But there's definitely a conversation about Zeke and short yards and goal line. I think that's clearly a strength of his. But I feel that the communication has been clear to how we're utilizing all of our players.
Coach, Eric Kendricks hasn't practiced the first 2 days of this week. He's obviously been a big piece for you guys on the football field. How is he trending? And if he can't go, what are kind of your contingency plans for the green dot and the communication?
Well, I mean, we got guys, obviously, Damone and Nick. They primarily work as the next guys up in the green dot. Maris has been working in there too. So I mean, you always have to have multiple. Malik Hooker has done it for us in the past too. So Malik works the green dot. So you're always working multiple green dots through your process. So that's really part of our normal weekly preparation.
Coach's general football question again: is it with the green dot communication, the relaying of the play that's more of a challenge, or adjusting things after you're lined up for that defensive player communicating?
Oh, the adjustment, yeah. I mean, the communication's pretty clear because also there's other means of communicating that you can get done, by position, with the coaches. So there is a means and method to facilitate that. But it's really getting the front set. The adjustment part of it is the most critical part of it. I mean, he's pretty much the quarterback out there for the defense.
So so I know like the quarterback's helmet shuts off with X amount of time on the play clock. Is it the same for the defensive player that's got the green dot and are you there the entire time with obviously with Dak in his head?
That's a great question. I've never used the green dot on the defensive side, but obviously the offensive one goes off at 15 seconds. But I would think that they are both the same.
Coach, Jalen Tolbert stepped up in a big way for you guys. How happy have you been with his development and the way he's been able to take advantage of some of these opportunities?
Oh, I'm very happy with Jalen. He's the guy that runs the furthest every day in practice. As far as workload capacity and things like that. So just to see a young man put so much into it, year round. It's everything that he achieves. He's definitely earned. So, just very happy for seeing him getting more opportunities and most importantly, what he's doing with them. So, I thought he played really well against Pittsburgh. Did some really good things, which was probably in line to be a game ball winner. But it's good to see him have success.
Well, speaking of game ball, then I guess can we assume his testicles are okay?
Yeah, he practiced. He's been a full participant in practice, so he's fine.
Coach, last one. With the possibility of Deron Bland returning, I was wondering if you remembered my Deron Bland scouting report and training camp when we sat down. How impressed you were with my observations of him as a player. Do you remember that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it was a premier moment in our relationship.
Peyton, let's see if you remember how astonished Coach was.
It looks like Bland has had a hell of a start.
Way to go out on a limb here.
Yep. That was it. We'll leave it at that, Coach. Thank you so much. Premier. Thank you, Coach. Great stuff as always. Good luck Sunday.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great weekend.